We do not have enough fuel on board for the next jump.
Ah, better find some. For a demilitarized zone, this place sure sees a lot of action.
The demilitarized zone is the boundary established between Colonial and OCCAR claims after the war. The buffer zone is intended to last until a longer peace can be settled. Since the OCCAR had prior claim, they hold authority over the zone. The treaty stipulates no colonial fleet presence, although there are colonial mining interests at work in the area. And then, of course, the outlaw elements.
Of course.
Get ready for a spot-a-firing roguelike where you are a clone who slowly remembers who he is by recalling memories that aren't his. Everspace is such a beautiful game that I could look at screenshots all day. When you start, you're dropped somewhere in the far reaches of space with no one but your eye companion for company. Nothing but the stars surround you on every side, and it looks absolutely stunning. Most of the gameplay consists of shooting down enemies or gathering resources within your choice of either a first or third-person perspective. The combat is not easy, especially for someone like me who's unaccustomed to dogfights. Enemies tend to circle around you, forcing you to shoot at moving targets. Plus, fighting 6 or more ships at once can be extremely harrowing, even for experienced players. Crafting is also a huge part of the experience. When you fly around, you'll find blue dots that show the locations of resources. Unlike other games, crafting in Everspace is very easy to understand. You can create all the items you have the blueprints for from the start, and you also don't have to worry about special tools or other complicated requirements. Each sector has a star gate that you have to jump through. Or is it a Protoss warp gate? Everspace is roguelike with 6 sectors and around 5 zones per sector which you have to survive. Each zone does not have a beginning or an end as you might expect from other games. Instead, you have to try and stock up on fuel to power your warp drive. Fuel can be found in containers, looted by killing bad guys, or just floating in space. You're sure to find many other valuable items, too. Meanwhile, enemies are around every corner from the rebellious outlaws to the mysterious alien ochre. There are plenty of different enemies from simple fighters to colossal ochre frigates. Killing enemies without dying requires a certain amount of skill and reflexes. However, there's plenty of room for creativity as well. For instance, how many missiles are you willing to sacrifice to take out a few annoying ships? How do you use those mines that you keep picking up? Should you try to kill the Gundam B freighters for resources when they're heavily guarded and might send a distress signal? How quickly should you go into unfamiliar territory and risk being attacked? Be careful, because too many rough battles will leave you weak and out of precious nanobots. Dying is bound to be frustrating for some players, but death is not just for learning from your mistakes. It's also an opportunity to buy new upgrades for your ship.
I like the sound
There
of
are
that.
plenty of different upgrades to buy and they're mostly not too expensive. You can die 10, 20, or even 50 times, and you'll still usually have new things to upgrade every time you die. This constant sense of progression is addictive, because you'll want to try just one more run and hopefully complete the sector that you were stuck on or even finish the game. A new sector means new enemies that will probably open fire in 5 seconds. I love the ships in Everspace. There are 3 that each plays differently: the Agile Scout, the medium-class Interceptor, and the sturdy gunship. My favorite is the gunship as it can withstand the most firepower by far, but it has no shield, so any damage is permanent. You also have the frontal shield for protection and the option to deploy drones for extra firepower. The Interceptor is the ship you start out with, and it's a great option for new players, because it's agile and has a good amount of health. The Scout is my least favorite as it has the least hit points, but the highest max speed and the option for stealth. Also, it feels too similar to the Interceptor, the ancient weapon. As a huge sci-fi fan, I'm always on the lookout for the next great sci-fi game. When I played Everspace, it surpassed my expectations, and I now have a new favorite spouting experience. My only complaint is that if you played the game for 40 hours like I did, you can run out of new stuff to do, areas to explore, and storylines to uncover. That's pretty much the only thing that I can complain about. Resources like this crystal are crucial for crafting new items. Everspace does so much right. It has an engaging story and immersive visuals that make you feel like you're in a Star Wars film, and combat that always keeps you on the edge of your seat, because even the weakest enemies can overwhelm you. Plus edge of your seat combat that punishes you for taking enemies for granted. Plus upgrading your ship is addictive. Plus fantastically immersive visuals. Some players might hate dying and find the roguelike formula to be repetitive.
Destruction is
If you haven't bought the DLC, you
Hostilities
may run
only
out of
ceased
new
when
things
resources
to
were
do
exhausted,
after a while.
forcing both sides to the negotiating table. A demilitarized zone was created as a buffer zone, monitored by the Oka authorities. Only time will heal the rift between the species. Perhaps we can make an improvement on our last run.
I intend to.
I know that you are planning to abandon our mission, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.